Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the work session of February 13th, 2024. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Kopstein, could you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just keep remain standing for a moment of silence as we remember our first responders, our military, and a special shout out today to all of our municipal workers out there on the road. It gets dangerous out there, and we do appreciate the job they do very much. And let's pray that everyone gets home safe tonight. Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
We will start introductions on the far left tonight.
Patrick Murphy, Councilman.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Far left, Patrick.
Far left.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman. We got you.
Sergio Esposito, Councilman.
Deputy Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Town Clerk Diana Kowast.
Okay. And we all got Patrick Murphy, Councilman.
You know I have
Just to make
problems
sure.
in my introductions.
Yes, absolutely.
Swearing-ins, introductions.
All right. So,
Special.
you know, one quick announcement. Assemblyman Slater is doing a diaper drive through the end of the month. We do have a box in our lobby for diapers for those families in need in our area. So if anyone wants to drop something off at Town Hall, please be our guest. And first we'll start our agenda. We have our water department updates with Paul Vasillo, our new superintendent of water. And I believe you were bringing Mr. Waterhouse up with you? Yeah. Very good.
What's up, guys?
Good to see you guys.
I guess we'll start with the French Hill tank.
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay, looking to repaint the French Hill tank. As per our sanitary survey of November of last year, it was a recommendation from the Department of Health. I'm looking to contract with Woodard and Curran to move forward to get this project started.
Okay, now we are, I understand a little more than a suggestion, correct? Yeah, so the Board of Health insists that this is done. It's on a timeline
Yes,
as well, and you were looking at Woodard and Curran, and you did some other bids for this?
yes.
Okay, and they're the best and most,
Yes, it's going to be a joint effort with the Westchester, Northern Westchester Joint Waterworks in the town of Somers. So we're all going to use the same, we're all going to use Woodard and Curran. Cost savings, will be there.
very good. And Mr. Rodriguez, you've already looked at the documents on that, correct?
I mean, I'm comfortable with the procurement that was followed, and we can move forward.
Great. Do we have any idea when they're going to start the project once we push this through?
I will reach out to Steve Robbins tomorrow, and he knows that we're on a timeline
Very good. All right, just make sure that the Yorktown tanks are moved to the
first.
front of the line. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. And what else are we talking about?
Wanted to look into the possibility of a manual water meter read fee due to non-compliance with a good amount of residents in the town not wanting their meter changed.
So this is part of the water meter project?
Yes.
How many meters have been changed already?
I'll let James speak on that.
Sure.
Because he's overseeing the project.
Sure.
Evening.
Hey, James.
I believe we are 4,100 out of what we were expecting, 5,100. As of right now, we have about 950 customers that have not scheduled appointments, even though they've been solicited numerous times. At this point, it's our goal to see this system built out. It's for everybody's benefit for the system to be built out. I believe that the board set our sights on getting that completed, and I believe this is a necessary step in order to get it completed.
Okay. So you said 41 out of 51, so about 20% still outstanding. And just out of curiosity, how much does it cost if it's done during the initial flip over of the meters?
For the customer?
customer and/or town. Is there a charge with this, or is this paid for as part of the initial project?
So as part of the contract that we signed with Vepo, the town did purchase the water meters and the radios to go with it, and then Vepo was contracted to do the installation. I believe they get about $150 per installation. I believe the town is paying about $402 for a meter and a radio each for a 5/8 3/4. A 1-inch meter goes over $500 for that set, just for one. So it is something that the town has invested a lot of money in this technology. The technology is proven to work. At the end of the day, it also gives our customers the ability to gain a whole slew of insight. They can monitor their consumption. They can work on conservation. They can monitor their bills. These are all really important things as we move forward from having guys traipsing through the yard reading meters.
Now, when you have the new meter, what does it take to do that meter reading?
It's basically push a button on a computer,
Versus traveling around and doing things? Okay.
manually going house to house. Exactly.
And that's why the thought of the non-compliance for this. Now, how much longer is Vepo here for?
We signed a 2-year contract with them. We started April 24th of 23. So, I would imagine we would have that duration.
Okay. So they're around to get them installed, but we need people to get them installed.
Yes.
So
Please.
what are your thoughts about the charge, the manual reading charge?
It is something that, we are still employing a full-time meter reader, that also has a vehicle. There's a lot of things that folks don't see. The handheld that the meter reader is walking around with is about $10,000. So there's a lot of little components that are involved in this that, I'm sure most people could simply overlook. Plus we also have full-time staff at Joint Waterworks that handles our meter readings. So there's a lot of moving parts.
Okay, and what would the charge be that you're thinking for?
I believe, so we bill 3 times a year. So I believe $200 per account is going to be right about the amount that it's going to be costing us to have somebody full-time
200 per account per read? Or,
every 4 months, exactly. So it would be $600 for the year.
gotcha.
Being that we bill 3 times a year.
And that would be charged to the person that's not compliant?
Exactly.
James, can you just, for the people at home that are watching, just what are the benefits of putting this in? Because people that are government, like you're gonna be on me now. Just if you could just talk to them and just let them know the benefits of this, so they're not as scared to make an appointment and have the installation. You know.
So I have fielded a lot of these phone calls from a lot of residents. One of the common themes would be that we're gonna watch them or we're gonna know when they're flushing their toilet. And I guess you can't argue because it is water that's being used. It is water that goes through the water meter. But the town of Yorktown bills in 10-gallon increments. So the average toilet today is about 1.7 gallons of flush. The older toilets, 10, 12 gallons of flush. But at the end of the day, if you don't use 10 gallons in that physical flushing of the toilet in that one time, we actually don't know, because it's going to be less than 10 gallons. And unless you use 10 gallons or more in an hour time period, it won't actually reflect on the meter.
But you see that anyway when you go manually read it. You know how much water they used. I think one of the greatest benefits of this is if you have a leaky toilet or a leaky faucet, you'll get an email saying, "Hey, you there's like something's wrong. I don't know what it is. Check all your stuff out."
The computer knows the averages of each account, so it's able to flag it. Once it goes in excess of certain parameters, it flags it and tells, even today, when meter reader is out there doing his job, it'll actually tell you it's a high exception, a low exception, and there's certain thresholds that tell us where that falls.
And the difference is you're not going to be getting $1,000 bill because your toilet the flapper didn't close, or you had a bad washer on your faucet. So
Hopefully
I mean,
you're able to catch it
just
from
that alone, because that happened to me in another place, and I got an email and I sent it to the person's unit, and because it's a condo and it's shared water, and I sent it to the person's unit, and I actually sent it to everybody, and the person, one of the units, reported back to me, because I was like, whoever it is, the condo's not paying the bill. You're gonna pay the bill, and we ended up heading it off at the past, and there was no excessive bill. We covered it. Everybody was happy, and the problem was solved, and the day was saved. But it's really valuable.
We are planning to roll out a customer portal, which will actually allow the customers to set certain thresholds for if you use more than 100 gallons of water in a
To be
day,
notified.
you would get a notification. They'll be push notified, to your phone. It's a web-based. It's not a standalone app, but it's a web-based app. I don't know what the exact terminology would be for it. Forgive me, but
So I just want to applaud that we are at least 80% turned over. I think that's great. As far as the 20% goes, I'm all about a big advocate for privacy, but there might be homes where either it's like someone's parents' house and they don't really live there, or they're not getting or they don't know how to do it or whatnot. How do we what can we do, minus you putting on a fee, rightfully so, because we did do this large investment and then we need to the second investment, support you in that? Is it something that we can do with you, the chief can do with you? Like, what if they're group homes, or like maybe they need help with, getting how to do it? I don't know.
it's something I guess we could discuss.
Yeah, maybe we'll take
it's
it
something-
offline and do that.
Yeah,
I'll give you a call.
There's certainly extenuating circumstances, I'm sure, that exist. But at this time, we really would like to tighten that number up and get as many done as we can,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll definitely reach out to you
please.
to see if there's any way to help.
Thank you.
As of now, does the communication go back to the water department, or does it go to the homeowner?
In terms of what, sir?
In other words, if you find a leaky excess water,
Sure.
for the house.
So at this time, the Joint Waterworks would get the notifications, and we would get the notifications as well. The parameters have not been completely dialed in yet, just
Okay.
simply because we haven't built the system out yet, but
Okay.
we're this close.
Gotcha.
Great.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No, I think we're good. What do you guys?
Thank you for coming in and
Keep
enjoy
up the good work.
evening.
Thank you, guys.
I know you were working on some language for a letter, if I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay, so follow up with that with Adam when you're ready. We'll come back in again and see what we could do and get moving to the next step.
But before you go, just on the backflows, are they specific to the sales of the houses, or are they backflows for pools, are they backflows for the laundry machine?
Well,
What kind of-
backflow, it's,
Because there's all different types of
Forgot
backflows.
that was on there.
yeah, so did I. So let's kind of touch base. Like right now, we contracted with VEPO to send out our letters to the residents that have backflow
Right.
and commercial businesses. Not all residents have them. And so this kind of falls into the same non-compliance fee, but right now, the letters that were sent out February 1st, we've actually gotten a good response back.
Great.
We've gotten a numerous amount of phone calls already, people looking for testers. So people are being proactive, trying to get this done. There's even people that already did it in November that weren't even scheduled to do it in November. So they're ahead of the game. So
No, I appreciate that. I mean, down county, they have where you're not able to sell your house without having a permit for your backflow and all this other stuff. So the fact that
Right.
we're working together and doing a dual program with the meters and the backflow to making sure that they're adequate, that's amazing. So
Right.
I appreciate it.
So, Paul, I do think that we may need to eventually look at doing an educational block on backflow prevention
okay,
and what it is
Absolutely.
and who needs to have it.
okay,
Because I think there's probably, as we had discussed when we were talking about originally, some people who are, just not aware
right.
that they're supposed to have it. I know the new meter system, they're letting them know, but I think we need a separate educational.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then also what the benefits are. Like, you don't want your pool water going into your drinking water.
Well, yeah,
or your detergent
Right.
coming out of your sink.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, it works, guys, honestly. I used to have to install them for every pool I built.
No, I mean, when you put it that way, sign me up. I want 2 meters. I want 2 backflow preventers.
Thank
So
you,
yeah,
gentlemen.
that would be great. But I
you
will
very
definitely
much.
reach out to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
James.
so much.
Paul.
Thank you
Bye,
for your time.
guys.
Next up, Willow Park Tree Nursery. Keith, how are you?
Hi, Keith.
And we have Keith Shepard being joined with Jim Maturano Jr.
Yeah, my name's Keith Shephart, with the Tree Commission, and here to report that we're ready for another zone of trees. Zone 1 was started in autumn of 2021 with 7 trees donated by the Rotary Club. Then we had a pause in 22. 23, we planted 55 trees, and 3 of them did die.
Still
But
great,
that's-
though.
But that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
And Sergio donated 5 trees. So the first zone, we're planting them in 4 feet apart, horizontal and vertical. So each row has 4 trees. So when you have 64 trees, we've used up 44 feet of the actual nursery area, and we have 12 rows. So this go round, we want to buy 90 trees, but they're smaller
Okay.
because the ones that we planted in 2021, Jim's going to harvest this autumn. So they're available for street trees, park, wherever the town decides to use them. Then the ones that were planted in 23, we can start harvesting some of them in 25, but most of them in 26.
Keith, these were abrevieties, right?
Oh, no arborvitaes.
So what kind of trees were these?
Well, I'll give you a list. The ones
Okay.
we planted last year were.
Keith, you can't talk when you're away from the mic because they can't hear you at home, but we'll pass that out. You're welcome, Tom.
Oh, wow.
The trees, well, the Rotary Club donated red maples, so they're good street trees. The trees we planted last spring were pin oak, which are good street and park trees, river birch, which will grow fast in a wet area,
They're great for what?
and tulip trees, which would be mostly for parks, not near a road. So this batch is more for like your understory. So we have some of the smaller dogwoods, some smaller viburnums. So overall, we can plug them in, in different areas. I was thinking of the corner coming into town where the gas station is, where 118 is. Then I don't know if that's the gas station or town property, but you can't have anything tall there because it would block the view. So this next batch would
Well,
be
yeah, the dogwoods, the bush.
give us more flexibility on where we want to plant.
And they give good coverage.
Oh yeah, and birds like them, and they're native to our zone. Now the only caveat is we can't do zone 2 unless we get our own water supply. Right now we're teeing off, no pun intended, Pat, off of Garden of Hope, and we did that last year. But when you have that many rows, 12 rows that are 10 feet long, you lose water pressure, and I want to put them on a timer. So if we get our own spigot, and Jim, and I have talked about it, we could then tee off of our own spigot and have 2 lines, zone 1, zone 2. So,
You're gonna have a meter on that spigot?
need a spigot. So I don't want to order the trees unless
We have a way to
We know
water
we
them.
can move
the,
ahead, so.
the town, can provide.
Right.
the
So
water.
I do have a question for the attorney, but first I'm going to back up and just say, the Willow Park Tree Nursery is a tree nursery set up with funds that are given to the tree bank when people are doing development within Yorktown and need to make up for loss of trees. It's right off of Gomer Street, and I'm not sure what the crossroad is there.
It's Curry.
Oh, Curry, sorry.
Curry
and
and Tulip.
Tulip. Okay. Funny, I didn't hear anything about tulips or willows in your trees, but that's.
No, we got 10 tulips
Oh,
planted.
okay, 10 tulips. All right.
There-
So just from a curiosity point of view, you said Jim's probably going to harvest some this fall, and do we know where those are going?
No, we can discuss that, yeah.
All right.
You know, hopefully talk to, you know, the highway department,
All right.
you know,
So we'll,
people that are out and about, yeah.
possibly Shrub Oak Park. Yeah, Jim, you know better than to talk from the seat. Possibly Shrub Oak Park. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's a good idea. All right. So we'll discuss that as we get a little closer. My question on the town attorney. Adam, the tree fund, can that be used for actual RM money for anything in there? Or, you know, setting up the water? Or were there any limitations put? Because I know we've had times where we have a fund and it's not really set up forward thinking about what some of the needs may be.
You know, I was trying to pull up the law as you were sort of segueing into it, and I haven't been able to pull it up. I have to look at it. You know, maybe.
Maybe, okay.
The other thing is the dogwoods, how much, they don't need a lot of water, but it just depends on.
Well, these dogwoods are, well, so Sergio you know, recognize me.
Now you look like you. Yeah, you didn't look like you before.
The silky dogwoods are the same kind of plant that we did restorated Railroad Park.
Yeah,
Last autumn, the Parks Department, we utilized some of these funds and we took out all the old arborvitaes that
Yeah.
were around the depot station and we planted smaller plants. So
you can-
they won't get big.
right.
Yeah, and they
More decorative.
They're very hardy, and the stems are red. So, like, especially now, they'll look real nice with the snow. You know,
Very nice.
big time. So, I am in a little bit of pressure because the Ontario Native Plant Nursery runs out of stock. You know, there are not a lot of these places. What we're going to do is I've talked to Jessica Albee, the Watershed Council, and like last year, we piggybacked on their order. So when they deliver to Hanover Farm for the watershed, they deliver our trees. I meet them there with my truck, and they unload right into my truck. And then I meet Jim's crew, and we bring them into the nursery. So the sooner we know we're going to be able to do the water, then
Oh, we can move for this.
So then, Adam, you could probably get me an answer next day or two? Just to not, of course, it's not a vote, but just to get a feeling, if we are able to utilize some funds for that water, are we able, does the board feel that that's something that they'd like to see happen?
Yeah, I think it's important.
Okay.
inside the.
We've been talking about
Inside
this.
the ordinance, there, you know, it has like tree bank, like the definitions. And it is for use of trees and establishing trees. So you can't you gotta grow, if you're growing
You
them.
can't establish trees
But
without water.
you cannot make that assumption and
Oh,
have a
no,
law.
Yes,
I understand.
yeah,
That's why-
trust me, that would be relevant.
That's your job.
Yeah, yeah, so,
I'll
well,
keep
that's
I'll
his
grow-
job
I'm
down
gonna
there.
grow the trees for the town, and believe it or not, we've actually had other towns call us, because we're the only town in the county, and even across the river, Rockland, that has a tree nursery.
Do we sell those back to potentially other counties?
Well, we need more than 2 zones.
No, I'm just saying, like,
Like,
in an
hy-
ideal world,
Hypothetically, I would like to be able to distribute them to the homeowners in Yorktown.
yes.
Yeah, I'd like to see him here.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I mean, for me, anyway.
There's a real tricky thing that Pleasantville does, where they'll supply the tree and the labor to plant it. The homeowner has to pay for half of the tree. So there's an answer there.
And do
But
we
you
have a
ha-
baller or anything like that? Like, how do you ball them up to move them?
You're
We have
gonna
the piece of machinery.
help us. You're gonna come out and help
No,
us.
no, no, no.
No, there's a
You
tech-
gotta
I got a
wrap
bad,
the
I
root.
got a bad back.
there's a technique. You know, there's that's why we can't let them, you know, grow big and big.
Right.
The Guiding Eyes of the Blind, part of their mitigation plan, after give and take, they're on like version 6, but they're going to donate trees to the nursery. So that's the
Great.
other part of like needing
Right.
water.
You still need water.
And that,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Jim, can you come to the mic? If we are able to go ahead with the water, what is the plan? Is that to talk with Paul to see if our people could do it? Is that to
Yeah,
hire?
I've already talked to Paul, so our guys would go in, we'd do the trench. Paul's guys would come in and run the pipe, then we'd be ready to go. But yeah, it always comes down to dollars and cents and funding the project, but I'm sure it's possible. He seemed like it wouldn't be too hard of a job.
All right, and I assume you're in favor of this?
Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be great.
And then the last thing I'd like to do is if you could talk to Paul, have him cost out what he thinks, but do not limit it to what's needed right now. I would rather do it once, do it right.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're looking at another couple of zones, maybe get the pipe laid, have it cut, have a cutoff switch, and this way when we're ready to go, it's a matter of just getting into the switch and opening up.
Yep.
And
Great idea.
let's look a little down the line for all of that Willow Park area that you think is going to be used for tree
Okay.
nursery.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Take a deeper dive. And to answer your question, there is a device that we could add to the excavator that could get the
That
trees
ball
out.
it.
Yeah,
Nice.
That's imperative.
yeah. So
Right,
if we could price that out, that'd be great.
Any other questions, board? Or
No,
all right. Thank you very much, guys.
appreciate
Thanks, you
your
guys.
time. Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
You'll let me know so I can,
Touch base with me by Friday, Keith.
very good.
All right.
Thanks for
Thanks.
your time.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Jim.
And if we're a go, we'll try to move it right on to next week's agenda.
Oh, yeah, sooner I know, the better.
Yep.
Okay.
So Jim, you got to push
Time's of the
Paul to
essence.
get some ideas. Hunter Brook Sewer District Extension. Vito, Gino, and Adam.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Adam Weckstein from law firm of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Weckstein. I represent Garden Lane Development. This is Vito Di Matteo, since he was listed, one of the principals, the developer. We're seeking an extension of the Hunter Brook Sewer District and the Hunter Brook 202 Sewer District, both town districts, to encompass the Garden Lane development, which was approved by the planning board in August. In addition to that, we're seeking for the board ultimately, once it's approved these districts, to petition the county legislators to allow us into the Peekskill Sanitary Sewer District, which will take, obviously, the effluent from the town's districts. Just by background, it's a 20-unit apartment development. The town had originally rezoned the site just for this use, albeit 30 years ago at this point. A condition of the approval of the current proposal is to obtain the sewer district approval. What we would like the board to do, because ultimately you'll need to do it, is to adopt an order that's required under 193 of the town law, which makes certain findings as to the public benefit to the district, as to the sufficiency of the petition, as to any costs the town may incur, which in this case is none. The developer will be paying for it. And that has to be put in your board's minutes and published, and then a hearing has to be held on the formation of the district. So we're really here to hopefully get this process moving in that direction. I am unfortunately or fortunately not an engineer, so if you have technical questions, I was going to say probably, but certainly the wrong person to ask, but an engineer will be at future meetings. They could not be
Sure.
here tonight.
Well, you are lucky, though, because sitting 2 rows behind you is our town engineer, Dan Ciarci.
We know Dan.
And if Dan, could you just come up a second?
Yep. Yeah, so this project is tributary to the, what we call the Route 202 Business Area Sewer District, which utilizes the E1 low-pressure pumps. So they'd be tying into the force main that already exists on Garden Lane.
Okay.
So it's already there, so they're just tapping into it. But they're in none of these districts. So procedurally, what we need to do is, essentially there were 2 town districts. There was the overall Hunter Brook Sewer District, which is the pump station that services that whole part of town, and then there was this sub-district which constructed the low-pressure sewer system over on the west end of 202.
Okay.
Basically picks up everything from the windmill west to the town line.
Bless you.
God
Thank
bless.
you.
And the complex there on Arthur Lane, I think it's Cedar Lane, I forget what the name of the
Yeah,
apartment.
the apartments back
Yeah,
there, yep.
so they're in that system too, and actually just recently, we also tied in the fluoride facility is tied into that as well. Wastewater from the fluoride facility goes to that. So that's one piece of the equation, and the other part is that the board needs to petition the County Board of Legislators to amend the districts of the Peekskill Sewer District to include them. And procedurally, that's probably that's an easy one, and I think we should get going as soon as possible, because typically that process takes close to a year by the time it gets done with all of the
Well, we need to
county
refer
agencies.
out before we petition, correct?
We should refer out and then have a public hearing
Yeah.
on the
Well-
application.
Yeah, we have to adopt an order that basically lays out certain information and sets the date for the public hearing.
So,
We can have something ready for next week. I mean, it's really what it comes down to get the process rolling.
To refer it out, you mean?
To adopt an order, we can prepare an order,
Right.
have it on the agenda, it can be adopted. We can work with Diana to get a date, for that, and get the ball rolling.
But I also need it referred out, along with setting a public hearing. It hasn't been done.
Yeah, we can have all that ready for next
So
week.
if you want to refer it out now, I have no problem with sending it out.
all right, let's refer it out, because I know it's been languishing since August.
So refer it out to the appropriate departments. Diana.
Yeah, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The only other procedural thing I want to mention, and I was getting in trouble by saying too much, the planning board, in reviewing this project, did a coordinated review under SECRA and issued a negative declaration after reviewing all the potential impacts. When I say this, I mean the development and the sewer plan. They did it as a coordinated review. I can't say I've gone through all the town's files. I don't see any indication it was ever circulated to your board. It very well may have been.
It's circulated to
Yep.
us, we have a copy in our file, and it will go out
Excellent.
with our referral.
Well, that takes care of that problem. and
Yes.
I very much appreciate it.
That's how I knew it was hanging around.
That's great. Thank you, and have a very good evening.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Have a
Bye,
good night.
Adam.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, Vito.
Okay, petition for zoning map amendment with Toll Brothers, Inc.
Good to see you.
How you doing today?
Good. Good evening, good evening, members of the board. David Cooper, partner with the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz, here representing the petitioner Toll Brothers, who is the contract vendee to purchase approximately 50 acres of the 50-acre portion of the Field Home Holy Comforter property on Catherine Street. The purchase would be in connection with a proposal to develop a 118-unit active adult townhome community at the property. We have been before your board. It's been a while, though. We are petitioning to rezone the property to the RSP2 zone. Your board is serving as the SEQR lead agency, but of course, along with the rezoning, there's also site plan review and subdivision review before the planning board. And the planning board is serving as an involved agency in the SEQR review. So a couple months ago, or a little bit last year, you guys referred us over to the planning board for a recommendation on the rezoning proposal, as well as to inform your board in the SEQR process, because ultimately your board is going to be the agency making a determination of significance, but the planning board certainly has a lot to weigh in on, and as they should. So we've spent the last couple of months before the planning board, and they've issued a memo that's back before your board. We are in the process of preparing a substantive response to your board of all the comments in the memo, as well as an update on the project itself, with the hopes of advancing towards a secret determination before your board. So, one, I want to thank you for the invite tonight, because we think it's actually a good idea to come back and say hello and reintroduce ourselves and take you through some of the changes that have occurred to the project, and I'll get to that in a second. With me tonight, with all that prologue, excuse me, but with me tonight is Kevin Moses from Toll Brothers,
Hey,
as
Kev.
well as Joe Rena, the project engineer.
Hi, Joe.
Long time no see, Mr. Rena.
Right. Every time I introduce Joe here, you know Joe. You know.
Yeah.
So we will. I'll have Joe go through the site plan in a second, but just to kind of hit the highlights of what is probably changed since the last time we were before you. We spent a lot of time with the planning board discussing wetlands and locations of streams and water courses. The footprint has been compressed a bit, I think, since the last time we were before your board, because we wanted to avoid a potential, it's a water course, but a potential wetland, and so outside the buffer. In addition, we spent a lot of time I guess you can't see it on this because of the coloring, but can you bring it up? Or the conservation area. So we did spend a lot of time, there we go. We spent a lot of time with the planning board discussing the environmental sensitive features in the rear of the property. At the planning board's request, and Toll Brothers would agree to it, the proposal would be to record a restrictive covenant or conservation easement on the portion. It's approximately about 14 acres of the back portion of the property. That would, of course, give up any development rights, et cetera, but more importantly, protect the resources back there.
Now, just for my bearing, this is the east side of Catherine Street?
That's correct, right? Joe, do you want to just go over the site visit site plan quickly so they know where we are?
North is up on the page.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll do that.
Site plan a little bit.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, Tom. As David was mentioning, we've changed the footprint or the layout since the last time you saw it. There's a water course that was identified, which is right here, that caused us to shift some of the units, shift the roadway, compress the site plan a little bit. The entry point changed on the upper roadway, on the southerly roadway, which is the closest to the bottom of the page. But it's the same number of units, 118 units. There's amenities in this area for the residents, recreation amenities in that area there. What you see in green are our stormwater management areas. And as David mentioned, this red area or brown area here, it's showing up brown, is the conservation easement, which is a little over 14 acres, somewhere there. We haven't nailed down where that line is going to be exactly, but that's essentially what that's going to be.
Joe, I missed the arrow. I couldn't see the arrow for the recreation area. Where is that?
So that's
Top left.
That's this right here.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you, Sergio.
That's it right here. We're bordered by the aqueduct to the north, and it runs parallel to the northerly property line.
Yeah, I just can't see that.
And
Thing moving around.
I don't know.
the old field hall building is right here of the site, which we're subdividing out on about 2.5 acres. That's going to be on a separate parcel.
Where is the old field home at this point?
That's this right here.
Right down there in the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to subdivide that out, as I said, on about 2.5 acres.
Okay, gotcha.
It'll be on its own parcel.
All right.
Couple of other quick things. So another topic that we spent a lot of time with before the planning board and us with town staff and Councilman Esposito is the practice soccer field that is currently on the property. As the town board sure knows, the town currently leases a field from the field home. I think the lease expires in 2025. That is a practice field. There's a little bit of parking there, not a lot of formal parking, and not, it's mostly used for practices. But in this proposal, it would be removed. So we did spend a lot of time evaluating, well, how do we offset the potential impact, the potential loss of that field? We spent a lot of time working with the recreation department, identifying where there are potential other fields or improvement projects at other fields that could accommodate the demand that's currently going on, as well as potentially pick up more, not so much necessarily from a active adult development, but just in general in the town. The upper field at the Hunter Brook Field was identified as a location that could, if upgraded, could take the demand off from this field to the Hunter Brook Field. So as part of that, Toll Brothers is proposing to contribute $150,000 towards improvements of that field, such that you would then be able to have more practice fields and potentially even a play field up there as well.
And that's above and beyond the recreation fees?
You got my next point, which is exactly right. So that $150,000 would be above and beyond the $472,000 that would have to be paid, is going to be paid as part of this as a rec fee in general because it's a residential
Because of the
development.
doors.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we have done is prepared a recreational impact analysis. This was already provided to the planning board. It will be in the packet as well to your board coming shortly, as I'll tell you in a sec, which evaluates both the demand that would be
That field.
from the field, but also from this 55 and older, or, active adult community, that the rec fees would certainly cover that demand, as well as the contribution towards the soccer field or the new soccer field would cover the potential loss of the demand.
The lease field.
So hopefully that helps the town board as we move forward in the secret process in considering the rezoning as well. I would also say the $472,000 and $150,000 contribution is also, on top of that, you also have annual tax revenue that would be generated by the redevelopment and reuse of this site. So that's not considered as part of that, but thought it was relevant.
Do you have an estimated tax revenue?
We do. It will be also in our submission, but I think I can pull it up. Hold on. Do you have that up right offhand? Or is that?
While David is looking for that number exactly, well, he just found it. It's just over $1 million of net tax surplus every year, so annually. And just a quick comment, not to steal your thunder.
No, it's okay.
I did just want to say thank you guys for the invitation for being here tonight. It's a little tardy for us. We got a very long memo from the town planning department, which we were very happy to see, to really help solicit some feedback for us to be able to respond to. And since that memo was issued, we've been working very hard to not only respond to them, but also endeavor into the additional studies that might have been required as part of that. So, since that point in time, we've conducted a wetlands analysis, a habitat analysis, viewshed analysis. We've made updates to our EAF and made other responses to the comments, including liaising with Mr. Ciarcia, who I'm not sure if he's still in the room or not, but working with him on the I&I issues that I'm sure David will touch on here shortly. So we're very excited about the next few months here and very excited to be back in front of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Excited to have you guys back. I
Yes,
think it's a good project, and like to see it, how it progresses from here.
The only other thing I think I'll touch on tonight, and then we'll probably have a longer discussion when we submit everything, is the field home building itself. It is being preserved. I think Joe was mentioning that, but I just want to highlight that the proposal would be not to touch the field home building. The proposal would be to provide it to the town for the town's use. We will be submitting, and we've already prepared, but we'll be submitting for the town's use an analysis of the building itself. The good news is that it's got good bones, and so there's a lot of adaptive reuses that are available. We started kind of just throwing hypotheticals out there, sort of not our place to tell you what to do with it, but thought it might help to see, okay, well, these are potential options. So that's also going to be part of the packet. The only item that I would say is not going to be part of the packet, and I'm sure people will ask about, it is forthcoming, but I think we've got a little bit more diligence to do is the question of the sewer capacity.
Yeah,
and
that's
I&I.
exactly, I just wrote down.
Yeah, I think I could see I.
You can see the sewer, yeah, I'm like,
So, yes.
thinking about flushing toilets.
Yes, you're
Just gonna
right.
keep the thing going.
As Kevin mentioned, so although this project itself is not going to create I&I issues, it's probably going to solve some maybe pre-existing I&I issues because it'll be a new development. We know that at the Hunter Brook Pump Station, there is pre-existing conditions. We are working with Dan
Yeah.
Ciarcia to identify how Toll could potentially assist in identifying mitigation measures, but of course, that's kind of, it's a little piece of the puzzle. The larger piece being what's on Dan's plate and the town's plate is to the overall analysis. So we hope that the board will put it on your 2024 agenda and kind of keep it high on your agenda so that as you move the full-blown study forward, we can kind of help you a little bit
Travel
on
with
our
us,
end.
yeah.
Yes, but that is not going to be addressed in our submission yet because we still need to see what the study says, and we're still working through it. So it's not, we know it's there, but don't be surprised when you don't see anything.
So thank you for naming it. And we also know there's a deeper dive on our end as well. So I just appreciate it because sometimes I feel like those little targets, we don't want to talk about them because they're not so as attractive as the rest of the project, but they're there.
It is.
So thank you.
So overall, our plan is hopefully to submit by next week the full submission so that we can be before you in March on actually moving forward on a regular meeting for procedural purposes. So that is the update from us tonight. If you have any other questions, we're happy to answer. If not, we will hopefully see you soon, and we're looking forward to an active 2024.
If anyone does have the time, I'd like to talk about what you're looking at with the building and what you're willing to put into it. Because a couple of ideas jump to mind, similar to like what they did with Tilly Foster Farm, where the Putnam County actually does an RFP for a restaurant in there. So I know that my wife, when she was a Girl Scout, which may
catering
be
stuff there now.
many years ago, used to serve the residents up there. They used to go up there, and the Yorktown Lions used to do their meetings there and have their dinner meetings. So there's a lot of local history for that being like a dining facility as well, and which would be nice to.
Interestingly, there is actually a commercial kitchen in the basement of the facility. But to your question about whether we have time tonight, my barber has said to me many times before that the time is for the person in the chair.
Yeah, actually not tonight.
And
during the week.
My point is, I'm here,
Yeah.
we are here, and we're happy to talk about anything you guys would like.
If there's any way someone from your office could contact Lorraine upstairs, I'd like to, maybe see if someone's in the area, half hour, sit down, look at some of that. I'd just like to get an idea and see where you're heading with that.
You name the time, we'll accommodate it happily.
All right.
Yeah, I'd like to be included in that. That'd be an interesting conversation.
Okay. Well, there's my one other board member that could join us. So.
Yeah, say the word. I will be there myself, and I'm sure the field home will be happy to accommodate.
Do you have one of your cards or?
Yes, absolutely.
Dave, while he's doing that, quick question. Do you guys, when you guys come to construction, do you guys use like local union help, or do you put out PLAs or anything like that?
I'll let Kevin answer
All
that
right.
piece.
I just know that you guys do enough business. So.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of sensitivities to that. We are a private developer.
Okay. I just had to ask.
Mr. Taggart, did you have
Had to ask.
anything to add to the conversation tonight from planning? We're good?
Yeah, just special care we need to take on the whole sewer issue, and I think you guys are aware of it, and we appreciate you bringing that. You be forthcoming on that. So.
And Dan has left the room, and I know he's spoken about the sewer.
Yeah.
And I think we were looking at a 1.5 reduction for the INI if possible.
Right.
And trust me, the INI is very high in my mind on all around town. So that'll definitely, you don't have to worry about us putting that on a back burner.
In fact,
Yeah,
we're excited to not associate Catherine Street and sewer. Yeah.
For once.
Yeah.
I can tell you, Deputy Supervisor Lachman, that we are fully committed to 1.5.
Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Good seeing you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
See you
David.
soon. Yep.
Bye, Joe.
Appreciate you couple minutes of your
Thank you.
time.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Have a good
See
evening.
you soon for your
Michael Grace, 3000 Navajo Road. Yep. I learned a lot from the first supervisor I worked under. He talked a lot, so.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just been shoveling, so I'm sore. And it's icy out there, guys, so. And, you know, if you're parked across the street, very icy.
Okay, well, we will move quickly so people could get out before it becomes solid.
Yeah. Anyhow, I appreciate the, having us back real quick. This is Navajo Fields, a project up in the northeastern part of town. And we were in front of the planning board, what was it, John, about December, right? I think sometime in December. What? Yeah. So essentially, we went over there to get the conceptual buy-in more than anything else. And I think that's what we need right now, is that if the town has an interest and a buy-in to the project, which I think has a lot of potential benefits for the town, the number one benefit being running sewers down 6N through the Osceola Hamlet area, and that will provide at least access for the whole hillside over there, as well as the commercial strip, which is in desperate need of sewers. And we all know what the state of affairs is up through that corridor. It's not great. There's been a lot of problems. We think this project has a potential of curing a lot of the issues that exist up at that corridor, including sewers and probably also drainage, water detention. I think it presents itself as a very good opportunity for the town to get some very needed infrastructure up there, which will never come otherwise. So you need a project of this kind of gravitas in order to provide for the ability for that infrastructure to go into place. We were in front of the planning board. There was some discussion about the past history of the property, but we're not really interested in going down that way because it doesn't make any difference. It's irrelevant as far as we're concerned in moving forward because it's an entirely different project. We're keeping, the applicant wants to keep a lot of the recreational aspects there as well, so wants to run a recreational sports facility as well as having the housing there. The wetlands have been remapped. The conceptual plan now pushes the buildings completely out of the buffer area. But in going through what is the applicant is looking for and the zoning code, there are conflicts. And I think the best way to approach this is, instead of trying to cram this development into an existing district that's on the books, that we take a look at either creating a new district that would accommodate the project, or doing something along the lines of creating a chapter where you deal specifically with these types of large parcels and sizable developments, which I think you have applications for quite a few. I think there's one at the other end of 6N by Contractors Register. I think you have Toll Brothers as well. So there's some significant residential projects that are coming into town on some of these remaining large parcels of land, which really should be looked at on their own merits, rather than to try to cram them into the existing zoning districts, because it doesn't work. Quite frankly, a lot of the zoning districts or the regulations that are on the books now are probably, I would say, 60 years old at this point.
Wow.
So it really are not addressing both the environmental issues that are of concern these days, the housing issues that are of concern these days. We've become a lot smarter over the decades as far as, well,
we hope to be.
Give credit to some anyhow. But, you know, in terms of actually doing something that reflects the land that you're developing, and the aesthetics, it's sensitive to the aesthetics of the neighborhood, et cetera, et cetera. But it's very difficult to do it when you start to cram it into the cubby holes that exist in the existing zoning. So I think at this point, what I'd like to do, still, we're waiting for the planning board member to come back to us. I don't know if that's in the works where that is, but I think I would like to sit down with your staff and probably look at, if there's buy-in to the project, to start to look at ways to create the legislative infrastructure in order to accommodate the development. And you know, there's a lot to discuss, because I think you have kind of these issues anyhow in town with what do you do with on-site recreational as opposed to recreational contribution to the town at large? What do you do in terms of in an area like this where you have actual drainage issues and you need infrastructure such as sewers? You're not going to get it. You have something on the other side of 6N, and not to belittle what they're doing, but as far as I can tell, they're not making much of a contribution, you know, in any significant way to the town as far as giving infrastructure, you know, because they don't necessarily need to run the sewer. But it's a sizable development with a lot of units, and that should be, you know, maybe there's a scorecard that, you know, we create a scorecard where development comes in, and you know, it gets scored as to what its civic, you know, and community contribution may be. They're all ways of massaging this thing and looking at it to create a really good project, not only for the north end of town, but for the town in general. And I think it gets very difficult for me when I try to take what the applicant's looking at and then try to mash it, you know, to the code, and it just gets to be, you go into, you know, brain freeze. It's like, oh, you know, every time I turn around, I bump into another regulation that doesn't necessarily make sense. And if it's a good project, it should stand on its own merits. We had, you know, we did this in the years past with the transitional zone. Only caveat I had with the transitional zone, that was really designed to deal with small lots that didn't quite fit with in the surrounding zoning districts that were there. They were specifically for, I think it was a winery and another piece on Route 6, because it was between the residential and commercial and the highway. And it just didn't make sense.
House, yeah.
Nobody was going to put a house up there, but nobody was going to really put a business up there. It was like, well, so, the transitional zone works well for these kind of small the developments of small lots. But now when you're dealing with something that's of substantial size, this is 50 acres. You've got other ones that are big that way as well. I really think that it's time to roll up our sleeves and trying to create a zoning, again, the legislative infrastructures to handle these types of development. And that's, I think, what we're coming to. I think, talking to John as well, it really doesn't make sense to try to cram this into an existing zoning.
Was this area ever addressed in the master plan, or not really?
I'm not certain. The thing is, again, you're also, the master plan's got to be
30 years since it started.
Yeah, it's been a while. There are apologies to the site in terms of it's a DEC wetland. A lot of it is wetland, but a lot of it is very developable. But the thing is, what's really cool about a site like this is you can take that, you can enhance the environmental features that are there, and you can do improvements to make it so, because that whole area, that whole corridor, that whole drainage corridor needs addressing. So I would suggest, if you're going to do anything on either side of 6N, that you start to bring those developments in to say, you know, to a coordinated effort to address the drainage issues that are up there. I mean, we all know, we saw the Part 3, they did a great job up there, where it flooded up to their knees at one point. You have a person at Osceola Lake that's complaining. You have, she's this young lady who has a house there, the septic gets flooded, it's useless. Well, not that we can cure all of that, but with sewer, at least you don't have that problem. But there's all sorts of, it's an area of town that has sort of with the stepchild for lots of years, needs some real focus. And I think you have the opportunity to bring that focus. But it means really, I'd like to, actually sit at the table with you, roll up my sleeves, go through the plan, show you where the density is, show you where the rec is, show you where the sewer is going, go through all that. But I mean, really, in a real kind of work session environment like we used to have, and sit down with your planner and figure out, do we do it where, you know, we create a flexible standards to be applied with outside parameters which we fit in? Do we you know, which I think is a better approach than, you know, a lot of zoning is, you know, half acre, 1 acre. We just lay it over a whole, you know, section of town. It does, and then you have the ZBA that tweaks it when it comes, you know, when the
But
property butts up against.
Just a quick question. A lot of the wetland concerns there have been addressed, right? When the recreational fields were put in, right? There was all sorts of studies and.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, you have a ton of data. It's
Right.
not just like
Absolutely.
an empty piece of land. I remember there were a ton of stuff that you guys had to go through and jump through hoops for the fields.
Yeah, there was a lot of years with the DC. You're absolutely right.
I know.
Spent 7 years at the DEC after we got our 2013 approval, and we kept this development wholly within the same footprint that the DEC told us we can develop in.
And what I'm also hearing is, it's not only what's going on the land that is buildable, it's also how we're investing in that side of town's infrastructure that's underneath, that it will also be a two-way benefit, because it would also benefit your development, right? It's like, it's not just,
4,700 feet of sewer that'll service everything from where we are all the way back to the bowling alley.
Yeah, and I've said this before. It would make a significant quality of life impact. On all of those residents and businesses along that 6N corridor, because it is just not
way
a
that the
good
water goes
situation.
now.
I think one of the things that was always been, and I think John Tiger was a big advocate of when Caremark went up there. You know, that lake is a really beautiful resource.
Absolutely beautiful.
And it's not. There used to be at least a public access to it through you know, and that particular what's vacant on the lakefront, where I think it was what Willie's was there or whatever.
Yeah, Willie's.
Yeah, you know, the problem that you have there is you have a stream that comes off that hill, and then you have the lakefront, and if you start looking at your wetlands ordinance and everything else, there's nothing that's going to ever happen there. So you kind of have this dilapidated lakefront, which is a real
well,
shame.
trouble happens there, right?
If you know where if you've got a sewer through there, all of a sudden that changes the dynamic completely.
No, it'll make a significant. I don't think that anybody up here will argue with you that it'll make a significant impact to everybody's quality of life and the revitalization of that corridor.
There are two large parcels, one of which we reached out to because it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it has about 1,000 feet of lakefront. So we went to approach to either buy it outright or come up with some agreement. He said, I know you're putting in the sewers, and he whipped out his drawings. So he's going to file his application to reinvest in that area.
Once you do the sewers.
Yeah.
Is
which
that
now
George?
a licensed parking lot for trucks.
George wasn't
So
there.
it's
No,
gonna
no,
be a
yeah. I mean, that's just goes without question. I mean, it's understood,
my
and
money.
like I said, I look at, you know, developers come and go, and you know, I'm always looking at, you know, what are they going to do to contribute, you know, to the town and our infrastructure and our people, aside from their development. You know, that's really that's what I look for.
And this, you know, and this will be a go once we get the, you know, this isn't a situation where we're going to go through the process and nothing ever happened. It's going to die on paper. It will be a go if we can move it ahead. So it's got, you know, it's really, you know, it's you know, from my point of view, it should be a very exciting moment for the town and the town board, because it's the kind of thing where you roll up your sleeves, dig deep, and actually make it significant. And we want to do it in a way that the impacts, you know, will be absolutely addressed and minimized. I think, you know, part of it's aesthetics. This particular parcel, most of it is going to be hidden from view. You can't see it from anywhere. Most of the development is way back. But there are really good opportunities to create a promenade entrance off 6th End. There's a good opportunity to actually, you know, up the ante for what is on Navajo Road as well, because that can be a little dicey sometimes. You know,
but the property sits from Route 6. The property sits what? You're like 10 feet. 10
Well,
feet.
More like
15 feet down, right? Yeah.
And then we're going to enhance the sports facility. We'll actually have more square
I
footage.
spent too much time on those baseball fields, to be honest.
Much better facility. Instead of having what we have now, hoop buildings, we're gonna have a 23,000 square foot indoor building, 36-foot ceilings, with an outdoor footprint of 110 by 210 as a clear space. So
Real domes.
So what we're doing is going to enhance what's there as well.
All right, so before we get down that road on all the enhancements and all, you know, it's like Beetlejuice, when you say his name 3 times, he appears. I heard John Tegeter's name invoked 3 times. So, John, any comments you could share with us on your thoughts?
I really don't have comments. I agree with much of what Michael has described.
That's a comment.
You know, in terms of the zoning, needs to be looked at. I think that probably we need to write something, you know, a new zone or part of a new zone. And I would emphasize this last part of the discussion, which is about Osceola Lake and what the sewers will do for Osceola Lake, the possibilities that it will bring. It is a beautiful resource. It was in the past a recreation area, a vacation area, and certainly I think in the comprehensive plan and other documents you may find that that area is looked at for outdoor family type recreation, which could be a promenade, outdoor theater, restaurants, you know, things. At the end of the day, a nice day, you can take your family and go have a couple of hours of rest and relaxation. So. Other than that, our memo is in process. A lot of things to work through. You know, nothing's easy, as you know. So,
Yeah.
But,
Any idea on how long for the memo? Before we're
it's
ready?
probably another couple of weeks.
Okay. Now, you know, you talk about what Osceola was, and I had many conversations with Tom about how they used to actually ice race
Oh yeah,
on the lake.
I remember that as well.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
There you go. So, yeah, so it's just some really great, you know, stories about that.
Yep.
Well, you know, it's funny because, you know, my wife got in an argument on Facebook with someone from school who said you could never swim at Junior. And she's like, no, I used to go there all the time.
Yeah,
You know, so
that's for certain. Yep.
Unfortunately, we have these great resources that over the years have, you know, fallen into a state of being unusable, whether it's, you know,
Right.
chemicals or
Well,
whatever's
the
there.
sewers is going to help the water quality in the lake
Absolutely.
in a big way.
Yeah.
But even if the lake is not used for swimming, you know, people are drawn to water. It's a beautiful place to sit and relax.
Yeah.
And so I think it's as Michael said, I think it's a resource that can be really leveraged with the sewers into something really wonderful.
And also can give a group of people that want to volunteer and create their own lake fun group.
Yeah.
We already know how to do it in one lake, so we can do it again.
Well, there was somebody there that
There
used to
is-
actually took it upon himself to maintain that lake for some time, and COVID hit, they left, and it's fallen into further disrepair.
Further disrepair, but a lot of potential.
Yeah. All water.
So, Mr. Grace, just moving forward.
Yeah, I just want to do one more, and one of the other things, it's not just the lake, but when you get onto the opposite side of the road, with this, you'll hopefully, you know, and we'll participate in this because the north side of 6N is small lots. And the problem with that is that there isn't enough of a critical mass in any one piece of parcel of land for someone to make the investment in looking at uses and possible zoning changes. Because the soft cost in coming in and saying I want to do something on a small piece of land just doesn't warrant it. So I think you know I would love to see in conjunction with the zoning for this and maybe for the zoning on the bookend of 6N, we actually maybe do the mini master plan for those parcels so they can plug and play at a later date, because that way, once those sewers come in, I think you'll see a lot of those really kind of
become investable.
Yeah.
Desirable.
And the big impediment to it is not just is the soft cost or the idea of what can you do with it. So if you actually give them direction and have direction and lay it out in conjunction with this parcel, then they can come in and make that investment without a fear of, you're spending a lot.
Spending way too much money on a
on
small
soft
lot.
costs, just
Yeah.
on soft costs. Yeah,
I agree.
So I think that's the other opportunity to actually for us to roll up our sleeves and create the legislative infrastructure for it all to happen. So I would love to be able to sit down with the staff, your staff, and start to work through that as much as possible. we can.
Well, that's my next question. So we're about 2 weeks or so, let's say 3 to 4 weeks from the planning board memo. When that comes, do you want to wait for that to come? Do you want to start to?
I'd like to start to do it. I'd like to, but I you know, and the thing is, it really is it's would be very focused meetings with your staff and your representatives of the board. Either in a work session or maybe just one or two of you, so we don't offend any open meetings laws or anything like that. But just to try to get the ball moving, so that I know what you're thinking, you have an idea of what we need, and because otherwise it's a tremendous amount of work, and a lot of it's just going to end up in the garbage.
Well, if you want to start laying out some of the bones,
yeah,
get with John. You have Sergio as the liaison for the planning board, so
excellent.
We'll throw him to the wolves. And
No, but I hear what you're saying, because I have that even with parks. Sometimes it's better to take something apart and sit on it and really dive into it and then bring it to the bigger atmosphere. If not, I feel like we're all posting it on TV and I'm like looking at the little boxes like saying,
No, this is because
what size is that? And I don't know.
And I appreciate it, because what's going to happen is this type of forum of come and see you every couple. Not that I love seeing you guys, but
No, sit with Serge in the box.
it's not going to get things done.
now I know that
The
life
little
gets in the
boxes.
way,
Yeah.
but I would love to see some type of a plan in 6 to 8 weeks, some outline, and really, I don't want things to languish on the vine.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I think the last time we spoke about just kind of fleshing out more the details on the whole sewer stuff. So we can talk about that. We don't have to do it now.
Right, and that's going to, so that will be a fixed point anyhow in the whole plan, and
Yeah.
it's going to be.
Just want to get more detail.
Yeah, it'll be a fixed point both in the physical infrastructure, and a fixed point as to the costs and the procedures to get that done and everything else. But that's why we going to have to back in the development to a certain size or gravitas in order to make all that work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, it's understood.
Well, the quicker you get this done also helps us with our other projects too.
Absolutely. All right,
So,
thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Michael.
And be careful.
Okay.
Slippery.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Where's Dave?
Dan, come on up, Dan.
We're cruising right along, yeah?
We
Very
are.
good.
Ah, farm walk.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dan.
What's up, Dan?
So let me get you the lay of the land here, what we're doing, a little bit of history, and then kind of bringing
I'm
you
sorry,
back.
1 second, Dan. Mike, is that your phone on the easel over here? I'm sorry, go on, Dan.
So there's a couple of intertwined projects that we're trying to achieve.
Correct.
So that sort of began with, we started design on 4 pump stations in the Yorktown Sewer District. That being Crystal Lake, Hanover East, the Mohansick one, and Saddle Ridge. So those 4 pump stations are in design, and we had an existing agreement with EDR to design those with us. So that's in process. Now, separate and apart from that, was a separate order on consent that we have with the DEC, with one of the bullet points is the Farm Walk pump station, because they had been prone to main breaks and so forth. So what we're proposing to do is to put in a different type of pump that doesn't pulsate, which we believe is one of the problems. So we began that process in-house, and what we decided to do so that we'd have a much tighter bid spec is we asked EDR to prepare us a proposal to do the electrical design and prepare the electrical bid documents and so forth. So this agreement that we'd like authorization to sign is for $45,000 to do the design and to do some on-site inspections to ensure that they're following the specifications. I mean, we'll be providing our own inspections of other stuff, but we'll defer to EDR's expertise on some of the electrical matters. So what we're going to try and do then tonight, a resolution, is authorize the deputy supervisor to sign this agreement with EDR, and then we've got to move some funds around to bankroll it. So we're going to pull out of the fund balance for the Osceola Sewer District, where the Farm Walk Pump Station resides, and transfer that into a line to fund the EDR work.
And is any of this money grant reimbursable?
Yes, we got a grant to do the 4 stations, and then we made a request to the Environmental Facilities Corporation to incorporate Farm Walk. So what we've been doing is try to value engineer the 4 stations we already have, and it's our contribution is like 20%. So we can really leverage our investments here by taking advantage of the grant that we've gotten.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
And thank you for getting that grant out speeding. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, honestly, I was kind of shocked at what percentage they funded us at, so we're really happy about that.
Okay.
So that's
Excellent.
the story.
All right.
Any questions about this?
No.
The Farm Walk Pump Station, how old is that? I mean, it can't be that old, right? I mean,
No, it's like 30 years old.
yeah, right.
Right, but what the issue is, if you want me to get in the weeds on this,
No.
but it's the type of pumps there create a pulsation. It's what they call a progressing cavity pump. So when it's pumping, the force main's constantly getting pounded. So what we're doing is putting in a centrifugal pump with variable frequency drives, which will slowly speed it up and take it down. So
It's like a variable
Well,
speed
that's why,
bump.
because
Yeah.
the pulsing on pipe on
Yeah.
it's just you can't have that.
So, one of the thoughts in play was to just replace the whole force main, which would be a very expensive proposition. I mean, ultimately, who knows? We may have to do that, but this redesign of the pumps, I think, is a prudent step to the longevity of the facility.
So
So Dan-
one
gonna
way
help
or,
either way.
one way or another, we need to replace from the pulsating anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dan, depending on where I used to put my my pool systems, some of them could work with regular motors and some of them would need the variable speed motors. Is the way that this Farm Walk is presented, is it a different grade or for the pipe? Like why do you feel that this area can't tolerate the pulsating pump?
Because the main keeps breaking.
So it just having this reaction there.
Yeah, we've gone in there, it's broken like so many times, we've replaced quite a bit of pipe. So that's why it ended up in the order on consent, because when that happens, we have to call in a spill. So the DEC was like, you guys got to do something about this because this line keeps breaking.
Yeah, because when I was reading about it, they actually are saying that they prefer us all going to variable speed pumps anyway. Like they prefer the one that.
Well, I mean, there's a whole other thing about where you sort of throttle the pumps to maintain flow during certain times. We're really not. I mean, eventually we could do it. I don't know that there's really a need to do that, because we're up against another thing, which is we have to maintain a certain velocity in the pipe.
Got it.
So there's not a big band.
Push, yeah.
Well, there's not a big band between speeding it up and slowing it down. You don't really buy anything. You just run the pumps too long. But we do that at like some of our, like at the places like our bigger pump stations and at the wastewater treatment plant. That's absolutely what we do.
But at that point, without the pulsating, I mean, you will have resolved the issue. So even if they run at full speed, and they, whatever, I mean, it's not going to prevent. It's going to prevent the breaks that you've been seeing that are being caused by the pulsating pumps, which you've identified.
Yeah, I mean, that whole dynamic's going to go away. The pumps are going to spin up, nice and smooth,
pulsating
and come
pumps
down.
work great on new pipes. It's just when the pipes are 30 years old, they're not as tolerant. All right, I'm good. I don't have any questions.
I'm good.
Okay,
Answered it.
thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, let's move to resolutions. We have personnel resolutions from HR. Appoint Gary Link to the position of the assessor effective March 25th, 2024. What he will do is fill out the remainder of Kim Penner's term after she retires, and then we would at that point, in September 25th of 2025, be able to reappoint him to his own term. We want to also authorize the stock clerk job class code 0198-01 be modified to a Group 11 in the Yorktown CSEA salary, Schedule A1. And then be it further resolved that Angela Cavallo, who is permanent as stock clerk, be moved to Group 11, Step 5, which is $82,297 annually. From the Deputy Supervisor's Office, approve 2 signs for the Taconic Bridge kiosks, one for the east side and one for the west side.
Can I stop you right there? I just want to get a picture of Susan smiling. Susan, come on, look up. There we go, I got you.
She's ready.
Well, it hasn't passed yet, Susan.
It will be.
I had a couple of members on the fence. So.
The east side or the west side? Yes, he'll recuse himself.
I'm going to skip over the next one right now,
Then you
since we have a recusal.
You're getting so good at it.
Want me to just leave now? Just
No,
take care of it?
we need you for the
Let's
other
get the
ones.
others. From the Engineering Department, authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign an agreement to add a 5th pump station with EDR for electrical design services in the amount of $45,000, along with the Town Controller being authorized to process budget transfers as listed. Authorize the release of retainage withheld for the fluoridation project in the amount of $38,364.86 to ELQ Industries, Inc. And Dan, tomorrow, if I could get an update on where we are there, appreciate it, on everything. From the Highway Department, extend the bid for asphaltic concrete laid in place. Extend a bid for streetlight maintenance and repair services. Extend a bid for Cummins Engine OEM parts. Extend a bid for traffic light maintenance and repair services. Extend the bid for John Deere construction equipment OEM parts. Extend the bid with Yorktown Auto Body for towing and emergency repair services to vehicles for an additional 12 months. Advertise a bid for asphalt concrete liquid bituminous materials. Advertise a bid for monthly rental of 2 Horizon Signal temporary traffic lights, and that's for the repair work needed on the bridge on Old Crompond, I believe that is. From the John C. Hart Memorial Library, authorize the library director to execute an annual agreement with Automated Control Logic for 24-hour on-call computer monitoring of the HVAC equipment in the amount not to exceed $5,000. Authorize the library director to execute an agreement with the library market for the implementation of an online calendar program. From Parks and Recreation, advertise a bid for pool pump and motor rebuild at the Brian J. Slavin Aquatic Facility at Shrub Oak Park. Authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign agreements with the senior clubs as listed. From the Water Department, authorize the Deputy Supervisor to sign an agreement with Woodard and Curran Engineering and Geological Services, PAPC, to assist the Water District in providing engineering services to the Water Department for a total cost of $115,000.
Motion.
No, is that it? Yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll see you later.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Patrick is recusing himself based on his previous recusal due to having a family member involved in this project. So this is simply an amendment to our last resolution. Adam, would you like to?
Sure. Last week, the board voted to reject the Heritage Preservation Commission's recommendation to landmark the entire property across the street, the Underhill property, subject to condition that within 7 days of the resolution, the owner enter into an agreement with the town to preserve the main building, basically agree that it wouldn't be demolished without town board approval. We've been working on that and have actually, through, partnering with the owner, we've been able to negotiate even more protection, more enhanced protection to not only, look after the main building, but also the stone wall that goes around the perimeter of the property on Underhill and 118, the entry gates there, and the pond. So it hasn't been signed yet, but we've basically negotiated that. It's taken a little more time than we were hoping, but we think we should be ready to go by next week.
Right, thank you. And I will say, after, actually during the public hearing, I had suggested it. I will say that their attorney was not a fan of it, as he stated. I will also state, though, that Mr. Galero has been a true gentleman about it, and as we spoke about the protections for the building, we were able to expand that scope, as Adam just said, with the wall, the pond, the gates, and he's been very, very much in favor of keeping those main components as he has them written into his plans. So to protect them, and I believe it'll be finally, at the end, it'll actually be a covenant.
Yeah, it's going to be filed with the county clerk's office.
Right.
So it's going to run with with the land.
Right, so it'll be in, that they will have to come back to the town board, whether it's them, or if Ken buys it tomorrow, or sells it to John the next day, that covenant will run with the property. And it'll give the protections that, as we heard, our public really would like to see. And you know what? I don't have the signed one in hand, but I will say that I'm very confident that that happens with the additional things as we have a handshake. And I thank Mr. Galero and his team for that dedication to that preservation of those pieces going on through perpetuality. Because in all honesty, it might turn someone away from a purchase down the line, but it's important enough to preserve that, and we're very happy to be able to work with the developer in getting that for the town.
So I'd actually just would like to read the last couple of lines, because I think it's very significant. Aside, but this is now at the end, it said, no, that's all right. I'll just read from number 1. It says the town board consent will be required before the main building may be demolished. Number 2, except as set forth in the site plan, as may be amended from time to time by the planning board, the property's stone wall on Underhill Avenue and Route 118, and its associated gates and pillars, the entry drive and pond, shall not be materially modified or demolished without the written approval of the town board, and any rehab of the main building will be subject to written approval of the planning board of the town of Yorktown. So we went into this preserving the main building from demolition, and it looks like we're coming out of it with an additional 6 protections, so 7 total. And I think that's very significant, and I think that's because this board listened to the comments of the people that were here that night, and we took them into account, and through diligent negotiations, and someone who was amenable to these things, the builder, we were able to accomplish the protections that a lot of people were seeking, and what was the, I think, main point from most people that night. So,
and I just want to piggyback that, because I don't actually believe that there's any full protection, period. And I feel that the protections that are in this covenant keep our word and what was necessary after an owner had this project with us within 4 years, and to be heard and have them sign off on it when you do have it in hand. I'm a little bit of a toughie. When we have it in hand, goes to show that not only do we hear the public, but we also have faith that it matters to the developer as well. and I think that you guys did a really good job.
Ed,
with
you,
that.
you really knocked it out of the park on this one, and your efforts are very much appreciated. But that's it. I'll end it with that.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
That's
so,
that one.
one last motion for the night.
Motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Pat, you can come back now.
Thank you, Yorktown, and good night.
Good night, Yorktown.